Welcome everyone to the tutorial on assignment 1, where we are going to look at analyzing the performance of a NIFTY 100 firm. I am S. Srinivas, a co-instructor at the IIT Madras online BSc Degree program. We are going to look at the consolidated performance of the firm in this analysis, and there are a list of questions which need to be addressed. Firstly, we will look at the revenue trend of the firm. And note that I will briefly go through what is to be done in this assignment, and you would have to work it out on what is the interpretation and how they vary over time and so on. So for example, if you are going to look at the first case, we are looking at the revenue. And I go to Tata Motors, which was a company considered in the earlier lecture, and we go to the financials tab. And in financials, what we require is the consolidated performance. And the revenue is given in the income statement or the profit and loss statement. So in the income statement, we are going to look at total income. So before we do that, we require the data for the last 5 years. I require these labels. So I copy this into Google Sheets, right? You could use the Microsoft Excel or the Google Sheets, but I'm using Google Sheets initially in this case. And we require the total income over the last 5 years. Copy this. And this is again provided here. Now what we need to do is to construct a chart based on this. So you can have this row wise, or if you want, you could actually copy this and paste it as a transpose so that it's visually appealing. So this is another way which you could present the data. So this is in column wise, which is the general format generally used. So now I copy this, or select this rather, and we need to insert a chart. So with a bar chart or a line chart, we can know how the performance of Tata Motors has varied over the years. So this is the revenue trend of Tata Motors over the years. And as mentioned before, there are options in which you can edit the axis. So you have this chart editor here, and there is an option customize, and you could edit the chart and axis titles and so on. So if you want the chart title to be revenue trend of Tata Motors, so this will get reflected. And if you want the vertical axis title to be revenue, you can make that change. And the horizontal axis title, you can make the corresponding change as well on years maybe, right? So this is how you obtain the revenue trend of Tata Motors. Subsequently, you will have to interpret on how is this revenue varying over the years. So that's the interpretation part which you need to do. So the same can be performed in Excel as well. So I copy this down onto Excel. So this is the data we have. I select this, and you could possibly construct a line chart in a similar fashion, right? Or you may also want to look at a bar chart. That's also a good way of representing this data. Again, I double click here, and I have this option of formatting the chart area. So there is an option to edit the chart title here, for example. So I would want to have revenue trend of Tata Motors, and there are options in a similar manner to edit the horizontal axis, the vertical axis, and so on. So I go to horizontal axis here, and there is an option called axis options, and you can make any changes you want here. So if you want the label position to be in a certain way, you can do that, and so on. So this is how you do it in Microsoft Excel. I've also illustrated how you could construct a chart on Google Sheets. So this is the first question on analyzing the revenue trend. Next, the net profit trend is also provided in the same manner. So this is the income statement. If you go down here, you can see the net profit. Of course, you can see this data also in the profit and loss statement. So the profit and loss statement will also give you this data on revenue and net profit. So I give the consolidated performance, and you can see the revenue and net profit out here. And the following questions, what we want is the financial ratios, the shareholding of the company, the capital structure, and so on. So the financial ratios are provided in this tab. So when you go to financials, there is an option called capital structure. You have an option called ratios, where you will get the financial ratios over the last 5 years. And you also have the balance sheet and the profit and loss. So the balance sheet and the profit and loss are also used in certain cases. For example, if you want to know the main components of cost and their movement across the last 5 years, where you go to is the profit and loss, right? So in the profit and loss of Tata Motors, I again click consolidated, and there is an option to look at the costs. So these are different types of costs involved: the cost of materials, the operating and direct expenses, the employee benefit expenses, and so on. And the shareholding of the company is also provided in the money control website. And you can also see some important acquisitions as well. So I'll show you that. So the shareholding of the company is provided here. So this is the shareholding of Tata Motors, and you need to illustrate how it has varied over a certain period of time, as in this case. And its performance and its comparison with the peers is provided. For example, Tata Motors, Eicher Motors, and so on. So this is also, I think, a question which is being provided. How does it perform with respect to its peers in the industry? So the data is available, and you may have to construct charts or tables to analyze how their performance are with respect to each other. And you may also want to look at the acquisitions or the mergers. So these are the deals which are being provided. So you could say Goldman Sachs was involved in a certain deal, in a purchase deal, and so on. So this is again a question on the important acquisition, sales, and purchase of shares, and you could highlight the key transactions in this case. And one more thing I would like to highlight is the price performance of Tata Motors. So the price performance of Tata Motors is provided in a tab called Price and Volume. So if you click on this tab called Historical Prices, you get the historical performance. So we go to NSE, which is the National Stock Exchange. And if you want the yearly data, I click 2021 and go, or 2020 and go, and so on. So you may want to analyze the price in the last 5 years. So that's what is expected. So most of the details have been provided in the money control website. So you may have to get the data, construct some charts or tables, and then interpret them. So the interpretation of the result is a key uh, takeaway from this assignment. So how do you interpret their variation over the years, or their variation with respect to the peers in the industry, and so on? So that's what we are looking at in this assignment. I hope you got how we could address this assignment. Thank you.